Hello, Handsome Reviews is here, and we're here to do a review of a comic book. Yeah, bit of a change. Now, I know I said my next review was going to involve something involving chickens, but I've decided to push that back, as I've sort of ran out of time. I've been kind of busy these last couple of weeks. So much has happened throughout my life, throughout these last couple of weeks, so I need time to breathe. But anyway, I've decided to change tactics and review something else. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you my review of the Infinity Gauntlet. Yep, I am reviewing the this epic Marvel story, and yep, here we go. So, epic Marvel event comic. Now, this was released in '92, I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was '92, and it's often considered one of the best Marvel comics ever written, and that I can definitely agree with. This is a really good comic. And this is the inspiration behind Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So, and you can pretty much guess who pretty much is the main character in this, or show. So here we go. So Infinity Gauntlet is basically tells the story of what. Now, of course, this isn't going to be the same. This isn't the same as the movies, or the movies aren't the same as this, but we'll get into that just after I give a brief plot summary. So Thanos, who everyone knows as the Mad Titan, and the villain of Endgame and Infinity War, has managed to gather all 6 Infinity Stones. Yep, he managed to gather them off before the comic begins. Now, there is a prequel comic that basically tells how Thanos got the stones, but I'm not going to talk about it here. And he decides to use the stones to impress his love of his life, Mistress Death, the embodiment of death, and basically a sort of semi-god of the universe. Mistress Death isn't impressed with Thanos because now his powers are just even more. The powers of the Infinity Stones, he's more powerful than she is. So she begins to rebuff all of Thanos' many gifts for her because of it. So, in order to impress Death and make sure that his new power isn't stopping him from completing his goals, Thanos uses his new power to eradicate half of all living creatures in the universe with a snap of his fingers, like this. It's around this time that the Silver Surfer alerts Doctor Strange about Thanos gathering the stones, and while they're talking about what this might happen, half of all living creatures that starts disappearing in the universe, and this puts massive confusion and chaos within the Marvel universe. It's at this point not only do the Surfer and Strange start figuring out a plan to deal with this, but also we see Adam Warlock, who arrives back on Earth in a new host body to deal with the conflict that has just ensued. So Strange, Surfer, and Warlock organize a team of many of the Marvel's heroes and villains to combat Thanos and bring back everyone who has now died. So yeah, it's definitely it's hard to go through this. This is a huge story, and it's interesting to see how irrational Thanos can act in this. In fact, to be honest, I find Thanos' ultimate goal in this is to impress Lady Death, and yeah, it's definitely psychotic. I mean, who in their right mind would actually want to be married to the embodiment of death herself? Now, let's go over. Not everything is the same between Infinity Gauntlet and the movies. I mean, obviously, there's Thanos' motive. In the movies, he wants to eradicate half of all humanity just to save the other half from possible collapse. Well, in this, he wants to eradicate half of humanity to impress his one true love. We also have the matter of all the other characters in this. I mean, let's be honest, when Thanos snaps, I mean, when you look back at the movies, Hawkeye and Gamora, who are two very prominent characters in the two movies, they get killed off when Thanos snaps his fingers. In fact, Thanos snaps his fingers very early in the story, so we see all the people who die very quickly. I mean, people who survive the snap in the movies, as I said, Hawkeye, Gamora, she dies in the movies, but not due to the snap. A bit of a spoiler alert. And Wong, who's Doctor Strange's partner, all die in the comic, but they survive. But they don't get dusted by the snap in the movies. We also have the matter of other heroes showing up in this that don't appear in the main story in the movies. I mean, you've got, as I said, Adam Warlock, who we know is coming to the MCU eventually through that guy into Volume 2 post-credit scene. He's a major character in this, but doesn't appear in the movies. Doctor Doom, who we all know is one of Marvel's greatest villains, who's mostly relegated to the Fantastic Four universe at the moment in the movies, is a major character in this as well. The X-Men appear in this as well, so there's that. Silver Surfer is another major character in here, and he's not in it, obviously. There are other characters too. I mean, and not to mention, there are characters who appear in the movies but don't appear in the book. I mean, Rocket Raccoon and Groot don't appear in it. Star-Lord isn't even mentioned in it. I don't think War Machine or Falcon are in it. Neither is Winter Soldier. I'm not even sure about Scarlet Witch too. And I mean, and not to mention the Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think existed at that point, because Drax appears in this, but he doesn't, of course. But he fights on his own terms to deal with Thanos with the other heroes, and as I said, Gamora gets eradicated around the first scene. Nebula is in this, but her relationship with Thanos is different to where it is in the movie, so that's something to keep in mind. Howard the Duck makes a bit of a cameo in this, but it's more of a cameo, like say when Spider-Man first gets lured to the snap, he sees a billboard with Howard the Duck on it, and not bad. So yeah, that's. I guess I should. And not to mention the Infinity Stones. Well, we all know what each stone color represents in the movies. They're different in this. In fact, it was they changed the stone, what each stone is in, I would say about 2010. So yeah, they've kind of changed what each color stone represents. So yeah, that's something else to keep in mind. So anyway, what do I think overall? I think this is a really good book, good comic. I mean, the drawing, the art, each page is drawn perfectly. The art style is amazing, and as I said, Thanos is a really great character in this, as is Adam Warlock, and Doctor Strange as well, and pretty much all the heroes that you come to know and love from the comics and villains are all handled really well. The writing is top notch, and yeah, it's pretty good anyway as well. I will say, and plus it's interesting to see which moments from in the book actually get referenced to be in the films, and how they changed it around. So yeah, it's definitely a really good book and a good comic, and you should definitely take a look at it. It's probably not everyone's. I mean, you don't have to. As I said, you don't need to read this, to be honest. I mean, but it's worth taking a look and see what inspired perhaps Marvel's two biggest movies in history. So I recommend you give this a go. It's a really fun read, and for all you comic fans, you'll love it. For Marvel fans, you'll enjoy it too. And well, and if you're fans of Thanos, it's interesting to see. I think it's best you take a look and see what he's like in the comics and all the TV shows and all that. I think it's interesting to see. You take a look and see. I recommend you just see what. Well, honestly, I'm just having trouble saying this. This is a really good comic and definitely one to check out. What I'm going to give it? Well, let's say I'm going to give it. No, I'm not going to give it 10 out of 10 stars. It's a perfect comic book. One of Marvel's best, and always will be. Let's hope one day they create an update a remake of this comic with all the newer heroes and heroes who have come back so into popularity. As I said, Rocket Raccoon and Groot don't appear in this, and now they're popular in many ways. So interesting to see what they could do with them in the story if they update it. Just saying. But in the meantime, it's time to move on. Now, next week, in terms of Marvel, I do plan on reviewing Spider-Man Far From Home, so that's one thing, and plus I will get on to that chicken scene review. So, meantime, as Reviews is out. See you later.